of the International Central Gospel Church and to our Practical Christianity Hangouts. I welcome everyone worshiping in person here at East Legon in Accra and our online worshipers joining us from all over the world. The Practical Christianity Hangout is designed by the New Wine Temple in response to the philosophy of ICGC, which highlights practical Christianity as its first pillar. Welcome once again. We continue our season 1 of PCH of understanding the 7 mountains, and tonight we delve into how to reposition yourself to stay relevant. Shall we receive the host, Pastor Albert Okran? A round of applause, please.
Thank you, Mami Sewa. Well, a good evening to you all. Thank you so much for being here. Why don't you give somebody a high five if you are close enough? If you can afford a smile, please add a smile. Tell the person it's good to see you. Tell the person it is a good evening. All right. Tonight is very special. It's a journalistic night. We are joined by some very top names in the journalistic game. And our journey tonight is very simple. We'll tap into the minds of these experts to help us find out how the practice of our work can mutate and what we need to do to stay relevant and active in a rapidly changing profession or field. If you are new to the Practical Christianity Hangouts, like my colleague Mami Sewa said, this is a creation of the New Wine Temple in response to our church's philosophy, which is simply about practical Christianity. And the thesis is very simple. We're saying that if we say progress in your work, that's great. I can preach it. But how do you progress? How do you overcome peculiar challenges that you may not have anticipated? So we bring experts from various fields to help us unpack the peculiarities of those fields and lessons that we can take from those fields and apply in other fields. So tonight, whether you are in fashion, banking, or any other field that you find yourself in, the lessons shared here will be as relevant as they are to a journalist. I have so many very special friends here who are here for the first time today, but permit me to welcome Michael Otieji. He's an avatar in the journalistic field. Michael, thanks so much for honoring us. Good to see you. Please take a seat next to Niyama so that we can ask you some of the questions. I would like to tap into the collective wisdom in this place, and you don't get so many stars in one place like that. So, Michael, thanks for coming. Let's clap for him as he goes to the seat. The next person I'll introduce needs no introduction, and he should be upstage one of these days, giving us the breadth of experience he's garnered over the past 40 years. My own brother, Niyama Ishem Famiye. Let's appreciate him. I've known Niyama for probably 50 years. And I'm serious. From primary school, so that's as far back as we go. Somewhere in Takrady, that's where we started life from. So these are all communication and journalism practitioners at the very highest level. So I'm going to go on to our guests for today. We have 2 guests bringing us insights into repositioning and how to stay relevant in your field. Just to give context once again, we've had conversations since the month of February, from the first week of February about different fields in what we call the 7 mountains of influence. And today we are having a confluence between business and communications and career. So the thoughts today are dedicated to you, both in person and all joining us online across the world. We have 2 speakers for today, and we get to have someone with probably about 30 years or so experience, thereabouts, in journalism. Makes him feel old, but 3 decades of experience in journalism, seen different faces, and held his own all through the years, bringing us perspective about experience and, very importantly, how to stay at the cutting edge as technology, as new media, as trends change the face of our professions. We'll also talk about the dance between your technical ability and your managerial ability. Also bringing us perspective today is a bright young journalist, specialist in his field in sports, who has made a name for himself. And I'm going to throw in a caveat. He's my son, and you know that, but I love him to bits. And so he is going to take us through how the dynamics of technology, new media, and a rapidly changing field allows a young person to find their space and find their own relevance. Our first speaker is Oreku Ampofo, and Oreku started out, no, let me not give his biography. So Oreku is at TV3, he's a broadcast journalist. He has very strong presence on social media. He started by calling himself a data journalist and therefore became very known for his data analytics. But he loves sports, and once in a while, when he gets people who don't know how to play, he plays. Otherwise, he's a journalist. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Oreku Ampofo.
Hi, everyone. My name is Oreku Ampofo, and I see very familiar faces here. If you are here, the chances of you being at my wedding is very high. So, yeah, that shows how important and dear you are to my heart. And so, today I'm here to talk about the subject, how to reposition yourself to stay relevant. And I deliberately did not introduce myself or tell you my life story because we're going to switch it up a bit. I'm going to start with what I put together as a model that I believe is multidimensional career-wise and can be applied in different fields. And when you run any situation or circumstance or career through it, at the end of the day, your chances of success should be higher. And so, whilst I go through the different steps of this model, I would be drawing examples in my life. And so that's how I'll be telling you my life story. And so, let's start off with the first. Okay, I'm having some issues with the... Okay, yeah, thanks. And so, let's define relevant. I'm sorry if you don't follow football, but my job predominantly sees me follow football. When we are talking about relevance in modern football, at least, I think the two names that quickly come to mind is Ronaldo and Messi. How many of us are Team Ronaldo here? How many of us are Team Messi? Wow. It looks like Ronaldo won this one. But we're not here to debate about Ronaldo Messi. We've been doing that for a very long time now. I want us to draw inspiration from these two. When Ronaldo and Messi started playing football, I was just almost approaching 10 years. Today, to give you a sense of their relevance, today I'm standing here speaking in front of people, almost 30, and these two guys are still playing at a relatively high level, and both captains of their national teams. Now, especially in football, we've seen so many people rise quickly, 1 year, 2 years, the hype gets into their head, and then they are gone after year 3. But these guys, they kept on rising from strength to strength. So let's just take a look at, it's not a comprehensive timeline, but just to give you an idea. When both players started out, they were dribbling monsters. Everyone knew Ronaldo, Messi for how skillful they were. They could beat everyone. But as time went on, they added stuff into their game. And so Ronaldo starts the knuckleball free kick. And what does that do? It increases his goal output by about 30% the next season. Messi also similarly starts with a different technique to his free kick, also increases his productivity. And then later in their career, we see that Ronaldo starts to move from, being that young dribbler on the touchline that goes past 6-7 players, now starting to camp in the box, focusing a lot more on physicality, i.e. his jumping, his ability to hold up the ball, strength, shooting, and all of that. And Messi, on the other hand, adds playmaking. And so Messi starts to drop deep, starts his through passes and all of that. And that brings a fresh feel to him because everyone knew, okay, Messi could dribble, but could he really pass and link play? Later on in their career, Ronaldo continues to be a monster in the box, scores more goals. And Messi later adopts the penalties, which eventually helps him win that elusive World Cup. What's the lesson here? These two guys could have decided that we'll be just entertainers by giving nutmegs and dribbling. But they realized that would not be enough to sustain them at the highest level. And so now we have an idea of what relevance is. Let's go through the model. We start off with the first factor, and that has to do with assessing your strength. Now, this is where I'll draw inspiration from myself. When I was in high school, I remember I was in Presec. The day I wrote my final WASI paper and I got home, I went to knock on the door of my father and mother and told them. I remember we had just come from teen camp the week before. And I told them that because I knew my father and mother are very spiritual people, I've never said this story anywhere. I told them that when we were at teen camp, the Lord revealed to me I was supposed to be a footballer. I knew that was the only way I could convince them. And I was very serious. So I remember in that moment, my mom looked very convinced. And she said, you know what? We're going to give you the chance that you want. And so at that moment, when I assessed my strength, everyone was like, this guy is good, this guy is fast, this guy can play. So I wanted to be a footballer. That was my strength. I knew I was good at football. And then we can move to number 2 for the first iteration, scan the future. When I slept, all I dreamt about was scoring at the World Cup for the Black Stars, playing for the national team, playing for Barcelona, playing for the biggest clubs. That was what pushed me. That was what gave me motivation to work harder. And then number 3, I took a position. The position was that I was going to try and be professional. And so my mom and I drove around Accra a whole week looking for academies, looking for teams to get a chance to trial. And so after many trials, we got the opportunity to play with Quants FC in Dome. And this is where number 4 comes in. Now I got into a Division 3 team. I had to back it with some intentionality. So what do? I wake up at 4 a.m. every day. My mates were having fun, partying. I mean, you just finished high school. Come on. You have 3 months to live your best life. But I'll wake up 4 a.m., cross the Adenta Road, go and wait for a trotro all the way to Dome to get to training at 6 a.m. And because I knew that I had to catch up on time, I stay with a coach in Dome till 4 p.m., and then I train in the evening, and I come back. For about 3 months, I didn't have a life. That was all I was doing. I didn't even have a phone with internet or anything. I just went there, trained, sleep, woke up, trained. So that was my life routine, and that was my intentionality. Unfortunately, within these 3 months, I was scoring, I was playing. But here's what's important. I got stuck at number 5. Why? No one was noticing me. No scout was telling me, I like this kid. I want to move him to a level higher. So then comes that realization. I have other people who chose to stay at Quants. And that's a fair option. Maybe in their life, they decided that they would continue to push and hope for something bigger. But there is that need to also realize when you get stuck in the iteration that maybe it's time to go back. Because you can spend your whole life pushing through number 5. And unfortunately, the thing about this model is that if you don't get to number 6, you do not see the full benefits of the reward. And so I went all the way back. And this time, the beginning of the chapter was at Ashesi. Kept on playing in school. But then I started writing again in sports. I remember Benjamin Epton, he gave me my first opportunity, asked me to write on Baba Rahman. I wrote a story about Baba Rahman. And with my first article, Ridwan Ibrahim Asante, formerly of Joy, reached out to me on Twitter that he liked the article. And that was the beginning of my journalism journey. So I scanned the future again. This time I didn't see myself at Camp Nou or playing at the World Cup. I saw myself on big screens, on TV, on radio. That was the dream. That's what motivated me. So I took a position. I want to become a sports journalist. So we moved to number 4, back with intentional actions. Once again, I've never told the story, but my parents used to give me a budget when I go to Ashesi. But that money was finishing fast. Not because I was using it to chill, but from Ashesi, I would take a straight taxi. Ashesi is in Berkusu, Eastern region. I would take a straight taxi all the way to Joy to just go and be on a show and then take a car back. No one gave me 1 cedi for that because I'm not an employee. I'm not an employee, sorry. I'm not working for them technically, so they don't have to pay me. So for many times, I was using my own money. So I'd have to go back to my father and text him that, oh, I need about 700 cedis for IT textbook. We're in the house of the Lord, so I'm confessing all my sins. When the money is sent, I'll use it to take straight taxi. My taxi was called I think Danny, yes, Danny Ashesi driver, that's how I store his name. I'll take the taxi. There are times I'll go on the transfer deadline show, come back at 2 a.m., and then I have class at 7 a.m. But I kept going because I had to be intentional. And this time, luckily for me, I got noticed. And so I get noticed at Joy. I move on to do my national service. I get there. And, you go through the whole meal, production, a lot of production, learning, following presenters and all of that. And at the beginning, getting noticed is nice. But after some time, you realize that, everyone has moved on past this young boy who came. And so you want to get to number 6. That's leveraging opportunities. And so I remember one time, after my service, I had a conversation with my dad that, I want to be different. I want to be different. I think, being just a normal presenter is not enough. And so we spent about almost 1 year brainstorming. That's how I decided that I wanted to go into data journalism. Why? Because I came back to assess my strength. And this time I had a degree in computer science. And so I was more abreast with technology. So I added that to my skill set. And when I scanned the future again, I saw data journalist. So I took a position to become a data journalist. And I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a time my Facebook page was Oreku Ampofo -data journalist, because that was the position I took. Back the way, intentional actions. And when a match is coming, sometimes I'll sit down, I'll do about 4 or 5 hours of research, just hoping that Jordan, are you score so I can post this tweet? Then Jordan will decide not to score. But that's not enough. I mean, that's the beauty of it. You keep on doing it till it happens. Because the thing is that I realized whenever you put out a unique post, something backed with data, and it happens, the reaction was wow. And then I get noticed. So this time, I realized that from number 5 to number 6, there was that ability to make that jump and leverage on opportunities because I think at that time, when I was not even thinking about data journalism, the world was moving towards it. And so it was such good timing that the relevance in the field came at a similar time when data journalism became a big deal. And so I had opportunities to work with the likes of Opta for the AFCON, and Opta is like, the biggest data generator in the whole world when it comes to football. So I leveraged on that opportunity, and once you do well with that, more opportunities come, and I think from there I've had different opportunities. I've had a chance to also work with Flashscore, who are also another data aggregator, and if you noticed, I've given you three different iterations of this model. And so we've done my football journey, we've done my actual journalism journey, and then we've done my data journey. In this current state, I am now on my content creation journey. Why? Because I read a post about 3 years ago that said there will be more than 50 million people using the internet by 2025. And there will be a staggering $32.4 billion. That's what the market of the content making industry would be like in 2025. And so at home, they call me Mr. Settings because I started to record everything. I started to create content. At the beginning, my videos were funny. The edits were funny. People used to laugh at my videos. But if you go back and run it through the same model, I'm going through the same model, but this time I'm not going through it, maybe step 1, step 2. So I assess my strength. I think I can edit videos. I scan the future. There's a lot of money in this industry. Take a position. I want to be a content creator. I back with intentional actions. I start to edit religiously. Number 5, I start to get noticed. And once again, I went back to my dad, asked him, I've been getting followers, I've been doing content, but no brand is approaching me. I'm not getting content. I'm not getting like gigs and all of that. We spoke over it again, deliberated people to spoke to, how to change strategy. And in the past year, it's been amazing. I've worked with, if you go back 2 years, I've worked with Coca-Cola, I've worked with Axe, I've worked with the Moroccan Federation, it's a lot of, I can't even remember some of them. But currently, I'm proud to announce to you that I've been currently contracted by Total Energies to be a content creator mentor for the African School Championships that's ongoing. And so I moved from people laughing at my videos. Today, I'm teaching children how to edit content. That's the beauty of life. And that's the beauty of this model. You can take a picture because you can run it through your whole life. We can run it through the companies that I've worked for. Let's start with Joy. Joy started, as a radio station. They were strong in it. They scanned the future. They saw, radio is not just the future. We need to add TV. We need to add online. We need to add digital. Same applies to TV3. They kept on adding. Because if Joy only stuck with radio from the 90s up until now, I don't think they would have been as relevant as they are. And if TV3 only stuck to TV from the beginning to now, I don't think they would have been as relevant as they are. And so, just to end, this is one of my favorite verses. To whom much is given, much is expected. The more you run different iterations through this model, the more much is expected for you. There are people here in this room that inspired my journey. If those guys didn't get to where they are supposed to get to, they wouldn't have been able to inspire me to get to where I'm getting to. And so as you keep on running different iterations and becoming relevant, do not forget to also know that you have a mandate to share and make an impact in your own way. Before I say thank you, one of the key things in this model, for it to work, you have to track. Because ask yourself, how do you improve on something you do not track? I've been gymming for 3 months. I had to add that. If you can't see the difference, I had to add it, just so you know. But how do I know my strength is improving if I do not track? For example, if it comes to inclined chest presses, I started with 5 kg. Today, I'm at 22.5 kg in 3 months. If I wasn't tracking my weight, how do I know that I'm stronger, I'm doing better? So the same way that I do that in the gym, make sure that you are tracking your life alongside this model. Are you assessing your strengths? Are you making sure that when you assess these strengths, you write it down, you scan the future, you write it down, and throughout the whole model, just to ensure that you are able to have something to look back at. That way, you can smoothly go through the model, and when you are stuck, you're able to notice because you are taking notes. Thank you very much. My name is Oreku Ampofo.
Thank you very much. I'd encourage you to write down your questions because I have 3 questions myself, but today I'll hold back my questions and take your questions. I leaned over and asked my brother Nyama, how do you, and I'm very serious about this question, because I can relate very much to the fact that if you stay sometimes in one particular area and stay there too long, the cheese can move in another area and you'll be found obsolete. The question is, how do you smell where the next big thing would happen? Please reflect on this question, and if you have an even more difficult question, please write it somewhere on your phone, on your notepad, because when these 2 are done, it will be time to actually ask them the questions. How do you know where the next big door will open? So Nyama and Michael, please chew on this as well, because when we throw the questions up, we'll throw some to you down, and we'll throw some around. But are you glad to be here? What the 6-part model? Number 1 is what? Assess your strengths. Number 2, what did you get in mental? Number 2, scan the future. Number 3, take a position. Number 4, back it with intentional action. I won't tell you which one is my favorite. Number 5, get noticed. And number 6, leverage. Leverage what? On the opportunities. Which one is your favorite? Pardon? Rhoda, which one is your favorite? Intentional action. Number 5, get noticed. I've noticed you. Give me 5. Miss Yati, give me 5. Your dad is coming in a minute. I've noticed you. Which one is your favorite? Anybody here? Which one is your favorite? Number 1, assess your strengths. Why?
You know what step to take to manifest your career. If you don't know what your strengths are, you don't know your weaknesses, so you can't work on yourself and improve.
The other interesting thing, Michael, is that I asked Theophilus whether this model is applicable in his life, because I can see the same model in his life. So it means you must begin from number 1. If not, somebody is doing number 3 and then you just jump in and think number 3 is the action. If you have not done your number 1, you can chase somebody's dream fruitlessly. What do you think?
I think that the model that Oreku has put up is, in many ways, maybe the most strategic approach that you can take. So you have a clear idea, even if your first assessment is, I want to be a journalist, you must be absolutely clear in your mind what is my level of interest. Because Theo will tell you, my senior from journalism school, that even by the time we get into journalism school, after the first year, the first thing you do when you get to the second year is you are required to pick what your specialization will be. It's not what you will necessarily become, but it's the first base by which you are being asked, what do you see yourself doing in the next 5 years? And I've seen a lot of journalists in this country, and a lot of them started from base. Kwabena Yeboah studied sports journalism at the Ghana Institute of Journalism. It was the reason I went to the Ghana Institute of Journalism to start with. But you get in and you begin to realize that maybe the area that I've chosen is not there. I didn't want to be a broadcaster. I just wanted to write. Because also, when I started in the late 90s, everything was about writing. You dreamt of working for Graphic Sports or for Africa Sports. But by the time I got out of school, there were too many radio stations that needed too many personalities. So you scanned the future. You said this was where the direction was going. By the early 2000s, everybody was building websites. My Joy Online was a big deal. Ghana Web was. And I figured, if I stay just writing and talking, I will get lost along the line. So for me, the model is really, really important. But I also said on one program with Nana Banamwa some time back, the thing I liked about Reku was he made a simple decision very early that there was a data gap. It's something a lot of people don't do. And there are a lot of young people here. Too many young people don't sit down to say, this is the industry I want to master myself in. Where is the gap? Because I interview too many people come for mentorship sessions, and you ask them, what do you want to do? They say anything. It's the worst answer you can give anyone. Because if
please write down these points, because I know you didn't advertise Michael as a speaker, but some of the things he's sharing are lifesavers. Anything.
Yes,
yeah.
Which is never
something.
great.
Yeah.
I've seen one of my favorite people, Yao Fusula, be sitting across the board. And when we met at TV3, it was obvious that too many journalists were just simply going to the stadium. Has Kotoko 2, Kotoko 1. They come, they write a report, everybody goes. But human interest stories were such a big deal. And we were getting a lot of heat. We get a lot of heat at TV3. We're being called into meetings and we're being told, why are you always just telling us the score? So we sat down and we said, okay, let's try it. And he said, this is something I'm happy to do. Because he loves literature, he reads a lot. He brought a storytelling approach so we could sit in a car and go to Sugakope and spend time and tell the story of the first female football academy in a manner that was going to appeal to me as a sports journalist, but to the businessman or the academic guru who had no interest in it at all. So he's become an expert in telling interesting human interest stories related to sports. So even within the industry that you choose, it's important. But I think one of the big things, and again, it's back to the Orico example, and I think even with you and the story of graphic, all of us work in spaces where technology plays a significant role. So we may be worried about how many people spend their time on this, and I've made a conscious effort to put it down. But if you are conscious about the technology in your space, you are reading right, you can tell the pace at which it's moving, then you are able to prepare yourself every step of the way.
I'm going to come back to you, Michael, because there's something I want to just pull from across the room. And I like the way you are engaging the issues. You know, timing. I mean, before I bring on to you, in all this timing, how critical is timing? Because can you guarantee that the door that opens today will be open in a month's time, in a year's time? Tell me about the power of time.
Timing has been said by some to be everything, but I think timing is a twin to being prepared, because the time is never right if you are not ready, first of all. When Oreku decided that data journalism was going to be it for him. It was not just because data journalism was becoming a big thing, but also because he had the skills required to be good at it. Because otherwise, there would have been no point. At every point in time, there is a new opportunity. But it's an opportunity that's only available to people who have the skills to excel in it. Otherwise, it would just be a waste of your time, and the end result will be disappointment.
Again, I'm going to come back to you. And again, I'm going to come back to you on preparation because I know you've trained for the BBC across Africa, training journalists. I'm going to come back to you and find out your big learnings about training, preparation, and its power to transform the individual. So chew on these thoughts from Oreku. And with the thoughts of these experts brought to bear, let's one more time appreciate Oreku for brilliant 6-part model. He started with a wedding invitation and he ended with a gym advert. When he gets home tonight, that will be the big conversation. Everything you said about your model, we'll forget it. We'll talk about the wedding and then the gym. Yeah. Coming up next, somebody I've known for 3 decades and 3 decades and a half, I think. Yeah. But I have just admired how his life has gone on an upward trajectory. I admire him for his love for the Lord Jesus Christ. I admire him for his strength of pursuit of the things that he believes in. I've admired him for how he has reinvented himself over the years and taken on different challenges to get to where he is today. And I admire him even more because anytime I pray for him or think about him, I see such a big future that I'm just excited to be around him and to be able to call him a brother and a friend. He's part of our family here at the New Wine Temple, just like Oreku. And it's just a joy and an honor to welcome the editor of Daily Graphic, my own Theophilus Yate, to bring his thoughts on the subject. A Wednesday Chapel Club.
I see. There's born before computer, and then there is those who were born as computer babies. Oreku, through his presentation, has shown that he was born within the computer era, and some of us were born before computer. Now, I'm grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much, Pastor Albert. And Nyama is a brother. We finished school 32 years ago. That was 1993. We graduated on the same day, and we've been friends when we were in school, and we have still been friends till date. I mean, our families, we are brothers. So, I don't think there are 2 people here who I don't think there's anybody else who know more than me. Pastor Albert and Nyama, I think they know everything about me. If you need to know anything about me, just see the 2 of them and you are sorted. Repositioning, it's a wonderful word because I manage an organization that is a brand, let me say, Daily Graphic, that is 75 years this year. I mean, to stay alive, let me put it that way, as a newspaper for 75 years, it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing because if I ask you how many radio stations do we have in this country, you will be amazed. If I ask you how many TV stations do we have in this country, you will be amazed. The newspapers, you will be amazed. So to stay up there and for advertisers to bring you money is no joke. It talks, Daily Graphics simply talks about repositioning, reinvention. Okay, so let's go throughout the slides. There are many, but don't worry, we'll go through quickly. So repositioning, I've explained to you, and I'll use my own life to explain. Once upon a time when I finished school, I decided to Forget about the slides. We'll go through the slides. But my story will take you through the slides. I finished school. I decided to be entertainment journalist. For which reason? Because one day we had Nanabin Datsin who came to lecture us on as an entertainment reporting. Remember was in that class? I think so. Then I developed the interest. Now, and I've been very strategic. I don't know how come, but I've always been strategic. So we went through it. Forget about it. As for this, you can read, but I'll tell you the story, and you can take shots. So I started journalism. I realized that as an entertainment, there was Baba Abdullahi and there was Nanabin Datsin. And those days, it was just Mirror and Spectator. And those two were the big wigs. Everybody was following them. They didn't like gospel for some reason. So I decided that let me focus on writing on the gospel music. Gospel musicians needed help. So I was there, and those times I was very young. I mean, in my early 20s, I had wild ideas. I was giving them, and for some strange reason, they were working. Everything was fine. It got to a point, I realized that I needed to be intentional in what I'm doing. I needed to be deliberate. So, and I look ahead, and I ask myself, if they ask, every time that's the question I ask myself, that look, if they are looking for the best entertainment reporters, or as an entertainment reporters, would they look for me? The answer then was a big no. Then I asked myself, what am I doing here? So let me move. So after a while, I moved. I started doing general reporting. At that time, I was with Ghanaian Times. No, Spectator, then I moved to Ghanaian Times. Then I was just learning. I was very young, so I was just learning, asking all the questions. I was telling Pastor Albert a funny story, but it wasn't funny at that time. And I was a good boy. Everybody likes me. When you send me, I will go. When you send me on assignments, I will go. So one day, I got some letter which says that I've been given some merit increment, some increase in salary. You don't want to know how much it was. It was 5 pesos today. Then, and I was so happy, I ran to Pastor Albert and I said, see, I've been promoted. He looked at the thing letter and he said, look, why are you doing this to yourself? No, if it's like that with you, the Pastor Albert you see is a very fine, sweet man. But when he really wants to be the real Nanewusi, he was like, Theophilus, why do you do this to yourself? You are qualified to sit on my board. Why are you collecting this and you run all the way to come and show this to me and you are happy? Look, my front desk lady earns more than you. And that was the turning point for me. I stood there. I didn't know whether to move, whether to sit. And there was lunch in front of me. And I remembered it was wache. It was in front of me with water and everything. I didn't know whether to eat or not. If you ask me where did that letter go, I can't tell. I didn't know where that letter found itself. The point I was making is that I knew I needed to reposition. Sometimes some of these experiences help you to reposition. So straight away, I realized that no, there's no future in what I'm doing. And I love journalism too. So I wasn't ready to leave. So I needed to do something to add value to myself. Okay, so there was intentionality. I was deliberate. It wasn't a one-off something. It was something that you needed to work on consistently. Okay, so one of the things you need to do, and I did, was to set a clear goal. My goal has always been, if whatever industry I find myself, I'm a journalist, yes. I need to be, I need to specialize. Which area of journalism do I want to be in? So I started being an arts and entertainment reporter. I did it for a while. I thought that I looked forward. I realized that no, there was no future. Because back then, there were very few accomplished musicians. So if the people that you are covering, only a few of them are accomplished. The rest, what happens? It means that the industry is not that big as it was or as it is today. So I needed to move. I looked around, I realized that there's future in business journalism. So I didn't tell anybody. I told myself I will be a business journalist. I started. So I went to the Ghana Stock Exchange. I took a course in securities and all those things. My mates some of them are now CEOs in banks and all that, but that wasn't the path for me, I know. So what did I do? I started learning. I stayed learning. I went to learn, did the basic course in securities and all those things. After a while, I was being noticed. But those times, when I go for assignments, the bankers, the stock market deal brokers and all those people, they look down on journalists because we couldn't speak their language. When we asked questions, we weren't asking relevant questions. So 2002, I told Newman and I told Rev that I'll go back to school and I'm going to do banking and finance. It was a course at that time I regretted because I didn't understand. And I'll share with you, today is funny, but it wasn't. I remember one day I went to Pastor Albert and I was like, you know what, Master, that thing, I know the C top. And he said, look here, my brother, it's better to get a C in the course that will help you in the future than getting an A, which will not take you anywhere. So be there. I'm an arts person. Now I'm doing financial accounting, stock management, portfolio management. And you know, those times, the class was full of bankers and very, very technical people. So when they asked the question, then they finished. I said, hey, Charlie. And you know, it's like you are swimming at the deep end. My feet couldn't touch ground, my head couldn't. I was just there struggling. But so after lectures, I'll take my time. I made sure I got one or two friends who were bankers, then they will explain to me. Because those times, the lecturers were bankers, some were CEOs and things. So they knew, they understand. And the teacher and the students too same. So we were about just 2 or 3 in their midst. So we didn't understand anything. But the good thing about me is that the head God gave me is a good one. It's big, so it can process. Oh yeah, it can process. You can insult me, but when you put the books down, I know how to get my A or my B plus or that one. I'll get it. So I would go through them, and little by little, I became a master then. So my reportage, I got noticed. I started going to Washington. I started going to all the big places. I started interviewing the big CEOs when they come to the ministers, the prime minister, all the people. I started because I understood the issues and I could relate. Now, you must always adapt to change. So I moved from being an entertainment reporter. So when I was entertainment reporter, that was where I started working with the musicians. I work with soul winners. I work with Daughters of God Jesus. I work with Pastor Joe Beecham. All those at that time, I worked with them. Reverend Neo Kine. I worked with all of them. But I realized, like I said, the future not good. So I had to change. So I had to change to business journalism straight away. Now, I realized also that at a point, but I'm sure the slide will show, I noticed the key moments. Sometimes the key moments are not moments that are pleasant. That's one thing you should know. Are not moments that are pleasant. Are moments that your egos will be bruised, there will be failures. Those are your key moments. And if you notice those key moments, you will do fine. I have compressed the story, but there were times that I'll go to Pastor Albert, I'll go to Nyama, and I say, brother, that thing is not the work. They say, we will stay there, stay there. There were times I tried moving from what I was doing, and it didn't work. I said, look like me and journalism, we are Siamese twins. I benefited by building connections. Some of you, you must learn to build connections wherever you find yourself. Today I can sit here. There's the IMF World Bank spring meetings going on. I don't know whether I can share this because this is public. But look, I know to the top that if you're a journalist in Ghana and you want to cover, they will call me to find out, do they think this person should come or not? And based on your accreditation, then you can get a visa and go. You know, why? Because I made the efforts to build relationships, not just there, across board. I always, and I've benefited from some of these relationships. It's very important wherever you find yourself, make the conscious. Don't say that as for me, I'm anti-so. No. It's very, very your social capital. In reinventing yourself, the social capital is very, very key. You must also learn to think outside your box, because sometimes when you find yourself in a very creative business, like journalism, whatever, you must always have a plan B. So what if? You must always be able to answer that question of what if this doesn't work? What if this works? And that's something I do every time. Often look for innovative solutions, look for things that you can do. I always tell my people that, look, we are in competition with companies who are leaner, who have more money than us, cash to invest. These days, if you look at my competitors sitting there, they are signing all the big guys in journalism. And I look with envy. I'm green with envy. I can't because it will affect the wage structure, like some of the football clubs I support. But you must be able to think outside the box and make sure that you match them boot for boot. In all of this, every time know yourself. If you look at David, when David was going to fight Goliath, he knew which position he needed to stand. He needed which regalia to put on, or which military outfit to wear, or war outfit to wear. He knew I know myself. I know what I am capable of and what I'm not capable of. So no matter how you push me, I know what I'm able to do and what I'm not able to do. Sometimes, yes, you can be pushed out of your comfort zone, but make sure that you don't look yourself in the mirror and you can't recognize yourself. You should always be true to yourself. When they say all the things, go back and ask yourself, is this possible? Yes. Which changes can I make? Then you make those changes and you tell yourself that, look, I need to change this, need to change that. But know yourself, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, know the areas you need to work on. You don't wait for somebody to tell you. So every day you assess yourself. Every day you know where you need to work on. If you're a pastor, if you are an organist, whatever you do, you must know yourself. If you don't know yourself, always, you'll be very, very, very unfulfilled in whatever you do. Because you'll be pushed into areas that is not you. And you can't function. Because you can't function. That is not you. So when your words align with your actions, people tend to trust you. So be somebody that you are truthful. Form authentic relationships. Don't be transactional. Some of us, we are very transactional. We are always asking, what is in it for me? What is in it for me? What is in it for me? Today, I'm benefiting from a relationship with our pastor. And it's a relationship that has lasted for like 27 years. If it has been transactional from day one, I don't think that I'll be where I am today. And it has been part of my success story from day one. But you'll be amazed how we met and what we were doing that brought us together and how far we have come. As for the motivation, you must encourage yourself. You must sharpen your communication skills. That's principle number 9. When we were growing up, one thing our parents didn't do was to help us in public speaking. We were never taught public speaking. In fact, you were not made to talk. When I say, "Kawanutum yedin wo honomo," obi afre wo ha. Na mo echebo, na mo eka akọ wie. Instead of our parents to encourage us. So we grew up, our generation, now it has changed. Now we say hey, and the children they say hey, hey, hey. But our time, you can't even say hey. You have to tiptoe. And we never talk. So you grow up, your boss, you can never even sell yourself to your boss. You can never sell yourself at interviews. You can never do, because your communication skills is very, very bad. And some too who think that they have mastered it go overboard. And that one too, there's a problem. But parents, please help our children with public speaking. It is very, very important. I remember Reverend Michael Esiedu was here, Entry was here, and he spoke about it. And people took it lightly. But look, what to say, when to say, is very, very important. Very, very important. Very, very important. So please, if you don't know, no problem. When you wake up in the morning, the mirror or the bathroom is the best place to rehearse. You stand in the mirror or you're in the bathroom, you speak, you go over, and every time you try to improve yourself. Sometimes you can record yourself, because the knowledge economy is real. And sometimes what you are doing, you can do public speaking or whatever as your side hustle. But if you can't speak, if you can't convince, it means you can't sell. In the banks, those who make the monies are those who sell. They are here and they will tell you. They get the bigger, bonuses because they sell. Those in marketing, those who do, they don't get much. The bonuses, you see, those who sell, they get more money. So please, if you don't know how to speak, work on your communication skills. Don't say, as for me, I'm an introvert. We are all introverts, but make an effort in making sure that you learn how to speak. Teach your children how to speak, how to communicate, say the things at the right time. It's very important. Now, this is the theory I learned from my boss, the wiper blade theory. In fact, the proponent of the wiper blade theory is here. It's no other person than my own pastor, Albert Nanewusi Okran. How many of you know wiper blades? How many of you know wiper blades? How many of you know cars? Cars. Yes. You see, the cars have wipers. In staying relevant, there's one thing you must always do. You must let people know what you always bring to the table. Else you sell yourself short. So let me explain the wiper blade, then we'll end it. You know, when you take your car, you park anywhere you go, some people will come and they will wash. When they wash, they put the blades on the windscreen. You won't notice, you come from your meeting or wherever, you come and sit in the car and you move. But those who are very smart, when they finish washing the car, they will lift the wiper blades. So the moment you sit in the car, you can't drive because the blades are up. So you come up and you have to put them down. Then when you put them down, then you turn around, you realize that the car has been washed. So you will now ask, who are the people who is the one who washed the car? Then you see them imagine, no. Then you will be forced to tip them. You always have to find a way of letting people know, your bosses, your subordinates, your peers, whoever, know your contribution. Else, in all this, you do everything and you will still not be relevant to your key stakeholders because they don't know what you do. You must find a way. You don't have to hold a mega microphone to say it, but you must find a way. And I'll give you my typical example. I work in 3 places. My first place, I learned journalism. My second workplace, I learned the commercial side of the business, because most journalists are good with writing, but they don't have appreciation of where the monies are coming from, how is the business run. As for them, all that they do is to write or to go and sit behind the console and talk. Whether money comes into the business or no, they don't care. The third where I am now is where I learned my leadership skills, or I honed my leadership skills. So my career is in 3 phases. And in all of them, when I joined Graphic is a state institution, and there are certain subcultures, and the culture then was not friendly to an outsider. So no matter what you do, there's a Ghana term they use, achu amambamba ye, ya ye jumano omubabidi. Whether you have come to add or not, they don't care. Oh. The moment you come, no, achu amambamba ye. So the atmosphere is hostile. So I realized that no matter what I do, and I was doing a lot. I was bringing in the money, everything. So I started telling my MD, my directors, in small meetings and all that, I'll make sure that you know that I did this deal, I brought this advert, I did this, I did that, I did that, I did that. Before you realize, everybody was talking about you. You know what that means? You know, normally when a decision is being made about you, you will not be there. People must talk for you. So if the people who are supposed to make the decision do not know what you bring to the table, how can they talk for you? So you sell yourself short. So you find a way of dropping hints, letting people know, making your work speak for you when you are not there. So that was what I did in Graphic. So I started Graphic Business Editor. I moved to become Deputy Editor Graphic. At the same time, Graphic Business Editor, 2 roles together. Then I became the editor. There's another role, but I don't know. Thank you very much.
Wow. Appreciate Theophilus Yate for a round of applause for him. One thing you are carrying away from his presentation, I have loads of them, but one thing you are carrying away, let me start with you, Abigail. Planning. Why? What about planning caught your attention? As an accounting professional, what about planning caught your attention?
Because all that he said, you could see that each stage he plans what to do. And the plan helped him to follow the due process to the end. And it also helped to know that maybe this process, I need to make a change or not. So there's something guiding, so there's a plan.
Okay, anybody else? One thing you're taking away from this? One thing you're taking away. Chief, one thing you're taking away from this. Which one?
What I'm going to take away from here is amalgamation of each person's intelligence and experiences, which will help me outline moving forward what I need to do. Because one person doesn't know everything. A collective, as people, we pick from each one according to our progress and our journey. And I've picked from each speaker what it is that will make me move forward.
How many of you noticed similarities in the presentation? Very obvious. Almost as if they had gone for a rehearsal. I don't know. But tell me about similarity. Let me start with you. Sedinam. Similarities.
Okay, thank you. So both of them mentioned knowing our strengths and then our weaknesses. And then I think that's the first thing I noticed. And then they also talked about the timing. Very important for
timing
us.
came up. Yeah, the issue of timing came up again because the door can open and somehow, if you don't move at the right time, somebody else moves. And for me, it's very scriptural. So we'll come to that. Take your seats up there. All right. So then what about intentionality? You heard about intentionality, didn't you? Tell me. Or Damia, tell me you. Intentionality. What was your key takeout on that point? No, you, yes.
Thank you very much. Actually, the name is Daniel.
Daniel?
Yes.
What's the meaning of Daniel?
So I'm a judge.
A judge?
Yeah.
I have to be of good behavior.
And so being intentional about everything that you do actually forces you to plan. After you've done the assessment of yourself, you look at where you are going, how your strengths will help you to leverage the opportunities that are available to you. Then it helps you to actually take specific steps that you can go back to and then analyze and assess to see whether the steps you are taking will actually lead you to where you want to go or not. And so being intentional is one thing that's run through almost everything that they said about. Yeah.
Awesome. Mr. Yate didn't add that he went to do a degree in law as well. Odamia, as a law student, tell me, what's your key takeout from here?
Hello. Yeah. The wiper blade theory.
Hey, this theory, I must patent it. What about it?
The fact that you need to register your presence wherever you are so that even when you leave, people still know that you were there.
It was inspired by the servant of Saul. Saul says, can you get me a skillful instrumentalist to cool me down when I get mental health pressures? And then the servant of Saul said, I have seen the son of Jesse, smart guy, good looking, he talks well, he's skillful, he's courageous, he fears the Lord. He gave 7 different attributes of somebody who was not present. And I said, wow, I'm not sure David himself would have given a nice CV like that. But somebody spoke for him and he got a job. So I believe in the wiper blade because somebody can speak for you so well that even you can do a better job than that. And that's where it came from. All right. Your questions for Theophilus and Oreku. If you have a question, please lift up your hand. I'm going to come to you. Okay, you have the mic. So get us underway.
Okay. I want to ask about the point of repositioning and reinventing. At what point do you decide that I think I'm done with repositioning? Because, I mean, life keeps changing. You would keep getting some new interest. You would see that, let's say, in the industry you are working in, there are new things that keep coming up. So do you always reposition when you realize that there are new things, or you decide to just be relevant in one thing that you found? And in all of that, how do you balance it with earning a living? Let's say you are married with children and with responsibilities, and you also see that you want to reposition to another space. How do you balance all of that? Thank you.
All right, let's hear you first.
Okay,
can you ever stop repositioning? Can you ever stop repositioning?
No, I cannot. Rev mentioned education, that I've done law. Yes, that's true. One thing I do is that I get bored easily. So every time I look for something else to do, a new challenge. So I stay at one point and I'm bored, but I just don't move to as for journalism, I know that I'll stay in journalism till I go on retirement. That I know. But I have been in journalism as a reporter. I've been in it as editor. I've been in it also as director news. So we are talking strategy. And in all of this, what I do is that I've been to school too. I did banking and finance. I did At a point, I did law. When I finished doing law, then I did my MPhil in leadership too. So why did I? Because I wanted also to be a better leader, a better editor. I can edit stories well, manage the whole branch, and make sure that we are not in court answering questions. But in terms of how to manage my time and do all this, I learned it from my mentor and my pastor. I will not lie to you. This man is the best person to answer this question because I learned from him. I'm taller than him, but I look up to him when it comes to these things. I mean, he will talk to you and you may think that he has nothing to do and you are the only thing he's doing for the whole day, but that's not true. He's put so many things on hold and he will get them all done. So it's just a matter of time management, how you manage your time. And I try to manage my time very well. So I'll be talking to you, I'll be holding my phone. You may think I'm just chatting or no, I'm working. So it's about time management. And if you don't manage your time well, you won't get a lot of things done.
Thank you so much. Ray, can you ever stop reinventing yourself?
The thing about, if you go back to the model that I gave, is that a model never really stops. And you don't have to see it as more or less like a process. See it like a cycle of life. It's not something that you have to do, like be so deliberate about it. It's just part of you. And so once you see it as a part of you, it becomes a process that you do enjoy. Because think about it this way, right? We can use journalism. And maybe back in 2006, you were the best radio presenter around. Everyone started moving to the internet. And then you'd be like, internet, today, almost everyone is on the internet. So imagine you told yourself that, look, I'm the best radio presenter. I've stopped repositioning myself. I don't need to do better because, yeah. But you realize that in 15, 20 years, it's not because the people leave you, but guess what? You know the earth never stops spinning, right? The day the earth will stop spinning, that's the day that this cycle will end. And that means that day we are all never here. And so this cycle will go on and on and on and on. It applies to every industry. The best coaches from 15 years ago were playing a type of football, defensive, you play a long ball away, and they chase it, try and get second balls. No disrespect to them, but in that era, that was what was best available. Today, teams in the championship don't even hire coaches to play like that anymore. And so if you're a coach from 15 years ago, and you say, I will stick to long balls and fighting for second balls, the world would move on. And guess what? Not even a championship team wants to hire you anymore because everyone wants to please their fans at the end of the day. And so it's a good thing. Don't see it as a stressful exercise that now every day I have to sit down and write my strength. I have to sit down and scan the future. It's not in that regard. There are two moments where I believe that you have to reposition yourself. When you hit a block in any of those points that I mentioned in the 6-step plan, that's when you start to realize, okay, maybe I have to reposition myself. And two, and most importantly, when you are becoming more successful. When you are becoming very good at your job feels too easy. Because if those times you used to do X in 1 hour, and now you're doing X in 5 minutes, that means your job is becoming too easy. You need to be honest to yourself. Can you do more? Can you take it to a higher level? Goes back to the gym. 22.5 is too small now. Can I go to 30? Can I go to 40? Because if you don't do that, you don't improve.
Round of applause. Obre Kwampofo and Theophilus Yate sharing their thoughts on the need for continuous reinvention. Yes, Babs. Let's hear you, Babs, on reinvention.
So this question goes to Ereku. We have chats, don't we, all the time? So you say it's a model. I look at it more from the perspective of a conceptual framework. Now, the question I want to ask is that in all these things, how do you unwind? How do you unwind? Yes, okay. How do you unwind? And please, I'm an Mbappe fan. Thank you.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard the end very well.
Okay.
I've never heard anyone say they're an Mbappe fan.
Now you know.
Yeah, now I know. How do I unwind? Have you seen my hair? Mr. Neoma will not be too happy. But one thing, I'm using my hair as an example because one thing that I believe in is personality. Whatever you do, whether you're a front desk person, you're a business person, your personality needs to shine. Because if you go to number 5, before you get any opportunity, you have to get noticed. And this is in a good way. I'm not saying dress or color your hair red, gold, green. It doesn't have to be extreme. But when your personality shines in a positive way, it could be the difference between you getting an opportunity and someone else getting an opportunity. It's the reason why you want to dress good and give out a first impression, a good first impression. So I believe in personality, and personality comes from being yourself. And part of myself is having fun. I just came from a weekend trip in Lomé, Togo. I don't speak French. I just got lost in another country. And it was enjoyable. I was able to take my mind off work a bit. And so, yes, I unwind a lot. But when it's time to do the work, you have to do it. I think a balance is, you know the balance yourself, whether you are doing too much of this or too much of that. Yeah.
And now you know the Mbappe fan club. All right. Sednam.
Okay, so my question is, how do I position myself as an authority in my industry through media and storytelling?
Media and storytelling. Theophilus, help us with how to become an authority through storytelling.
Okay, so it's much easier now with internet and all that. You can do short videos. You can so one, you create the content. You plan on which area do you feel strongly about. So is it health, which aspect of health? Is it recreation, which aspect of recreation? So you define your own niche. Then you create a podcast or a video or a blog, whatever. Then you share. As you share and you see that it's gaining some mileage, then you move it to the next. It's just a step-by-step thing. And fortunately for you, we are talking. Orekusi, I'm here. There are other media managers and experienced media people are around. You can talk to any of them and you will get help. So it starts with you. It's what you have. You can only give what you have. So what do you have? What do you have? Which area is it? And then when you create the content, there are various platforms, avenues to, share the content. Either writing or video or audio or whatever. And people will guide you and help you. So I'm here, Nyama is here, Oreku is here, Michael Tiaji is here. All of us, we are here to help. So after, there are some that you say that after, see me after for further course. Yes.
Let me stay with content and come to Oreku. In trying to create a brand as a content creator, what will be your 3 critical success factors?
I think you need market research because you can't just decide everyone is doing food review, so I'm also going to do food review. You have to try and look ahead a bit. In the next 2-3 years, what type of content are people going to be interested in? Is it video? Is it podcast? Does it have to do with sound? What's the format going to be like? So you have to research. That's what I believe. Number 2, create religiously. Religiously. My articles that I wrote from 5-7 years ago, they gave me opportunities not in that moment. 3-4 years later, someone saw that article and hit me up to do something. So it might look like you are throwing it in a vacuum. Keep on doing it. But here's where the third one comes in. The mere fact that you have to put in a vacuum doesn't mean that you have to also sit back and do nothing. In 2019, December, I lost my Twitter account. I woke up one day and my Twitter account was gone. I had 10,000 followers then. I was so confused. I can remember it so vividly that a member of my team just called me that, Oroku, our account is gone. I was like, what? I logged in, I couldn't log in. Took like 1 month, came back, decided that I'm going to do this again. So I started tweeting. And my tweets were averaging 0 to 1 like. That's the honest truth. Every account starts from 0 at a point. But whenever I tweet something, I would share it to my friends on WhatsApp. I would share it to the people who are more popular than me. I remember I would forward my tweet to Kali J, to, there's this guy on Twitter, he's called K Poison. I'll send it to Gary, I'll send it to George. I'll send it to basically everyone I know to share. And what happens is that some of them would share, some of them would not share. But when they share, all of a sudden it introduces you to a new market. And so it could be even your own WhatsApp friends. You do your YouTube or you write a blog, share with them. Some of them would share, and then that multiplies your audience. One might be converted. The converted one might also share it. And then just like that, once you are creating religiously and sharing, you will grow, you grow, you grow. And that's what I did with my social media. And I can proudly say in, we're in 2025, so that's like 4 or 5 years, I've been able to grow the account again. I cried over 10K. Today, I'm 517K in 5 years.
Nyama, let me come to you. I'll come to you on technology. Let me come to you on what they famously call the imposter syndrome. You say, I'm writing this thing, but I feel like, am I even qualified to write? So you talk to people and you say, put all your thoughts out there. They say, I don't want to feel like an imposter. Please help us to address the so-called imposter syndrome.
It works a number of ways. One is the feeling of being inadequate.
Right.
I think it's the easiest way to explain it, where you are benchmarking yourself against people who are at the top of their game and wanting to start out and feeling I could, assuming, for example, that I wanted to be a sports writer. I am sure I would have that sense if I compared myself to TJ. This is something he's done virtually daily, several times a day for like 20 years. But the important thing is to remember that every journey begins with a step. And more importantly, to figure out what you need at each point in time to be in the zone, but also to be real about what your capacity is, but also what it takes to keep doing better. So that over time, you may not be there today, but tomorrow you are closer, just like Oreku talks about. It's about continuous progress, because that's what gets you there ultimately.
Excellent. One thing I would say, Michael, is that technology has changed the world as we know it, and in a sense become a leveler, because where we were coming from and where the world was reaching without technology would have probably been so many years behind. But how do we leverage technology in whatever field you are in, whether it's in sports, in ministry, in anything? How do we leverage technology in our quest to, whether it's in the Oreku model or the Theo model, to hit the heights that you are aspiring to?
I think the two models are pretty similar, by the way. I think that first of all, you have to be a vivid student of whatever field you are in. If
What's
you
a
understand
student?
your field,
What's a student?
basically you must know your field inside out. It's not just what you do. So I may be a sports journalist. By my academic underpinning, my theoretical underpinnings, and everything about journalism should go way beyond just what I know about Liverpool versus Arsenal and the rest. So I should understand journalism from its basics. I should understand that journalism has been impacted greatly by every major shift in technology. So I would know that at some point, when printing technology became widely available, newspapers came alive. And they know that when radio came in, sometime after the First World War, everybody began to shift to radio. Then television added pictures and became more appealing. It gave birth to significant sports broadcasting. The internet led to the proclamation of the death of newspapers. Thankfully, Theo's graphic is still around. But if you go to the UK, for instance, now, almost every major newspaper in the UK has cut down printed hard copies by 95%. And they've gone online, they've put paywalls in the system and there. So if you are a student of your space, you are consciously aware of where your industry is moving. And this is not just journalism. Say you are a banker, you understand the operation processes very well. It may be at some point you were doing a mechanical, you were carrying the money into the system. Even the change in technology for money counting machines, counterfeit detection and the rest, impacts the rules that you put there. Maybe you had somebody there in the past whose job, you are a manager, somebody whose job was to physically assess the money and make sure that everything was right. Now you have technology that can do it. I was joking a few days ago about how when I'm doing a presentation these days, I'm not a big fan of PowerPoint presentations. But I can now comfortably write in Word and I can put it in any AI tool, whether it's Gamma, whether it's Canva, sit back and it will create anything I want from me. I'm just leveraging the technology. I've not lost my core skills. So I think the first step is to understand your space and understand it well. You understand it well by reading significantly. Moses, one of my friends here, I have a lot of friends across the table. He's a really good video editor. He could mix any podcast for you and the rest. But if Moses wants to compress his time well, Moses needs to know the tool that allows him, the funky one. He needs to understand which tool in his area would cut down his editing time from 3 hours to 1. Because you do production and you know, in production, speed is an asset. So I think that is just mainly knowing your space and being an avid reader. And it's something that I just learned from reading about more successful people. There's not a single literature that I've read that does not talk about how the number of books highly successful people read. So if I feel like my habits are going a bit bad, I would actively search a book, or in these busy days, search an audio book and drive with for 1 week in order to improve it. So be a reader.
That's the point on which I come back to you, Nyama, for just 1 minute. You spent years traveling across Africa training journalists. Or I shouldn't say it. You did it. It's a fact. Yes. You spent years traveling across the continent training journalists for the BBC. I'm sure you met people that you trained and you met them years later and you just couldn't believe how far they've come. As we begin to wind down on this all-important conversation, what I want from you is to highlight how critical structured training is in transitioning you from a place of disadvantage to a place of mastery.
I don't think we can overemphasize the power and the value of transferred knowledge and also motivation and inspiration. I think those three can be put together but can also be separated. Transferred knowledge converts into motivation and also becomes inspiration. There's the room and the need for you to be schooled in what you do, both formally and informally. But increasingly, it's also becoming easier and easier to informally learn a lot of very formal stuff. So what do I mean? For example, in the last month, there is a subject that I find myself increasingly very distant from because of my age and because of the era in which we formerly went to school. Now, all I have done is spend my dawns on podcasts related to the subject. And I find myself getting more and more abreast every time I speak to younger people who a year or two ago I could barely understand when I engaged. So I have done a lot of put people in a room, stand in front of them, share with them what I know and what I have imbibed over time. But I'm also very much aware that today, all you need is the commitment. All you need is to be committed to studying. The same time you will spend in watching videos that don't give you anything, you can use in watching videos that teach you everything.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. So there you are. I'm going to ask you one thing you've learned from your great friend Oreku, and I'm going to ask you one thing you've learned from your uncle Theo.
So I think consistency is key. It's something that we all have to be well aware of and understand how to use it to our advantage.
They call that a narrow escape. Okay, what have you learned from your uncle?
So you have to always seek knowledge. So definitely I feel like you have to strive to push out of your comfort zone when you're pursuing your career. He mentioned that he's a journalist, but he pursued law and banking, and it's a good initiative for us too, that we should strive as much as possible to learn beyond what we know. Yeah.
Rhoda, I'm sure if you've learned something from your dad, you'll feel very proud that he has said something today. So please. We lost. All right.
Okay, so you must learn how to take risk and also know your strength and your weaknesses. Yes.
Please, whatever risk you take, don't take any risks that will scare your dad. Theo, I'm praying for you if your daughter starts taking risks. All right. So on that note, we come to the end of today's conversation. I'm going to give the microphone back to first Oreku to give us his closing thoughts and Theophilus to give us his closing thoughts as well. And this will bring today's conversation about repositioning to a close.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity once again. I just realized that Gary came, but he missed out on the points that I made earlier. It's key that he hears that he was very important in my digital journey. When I started, Gary L. Smith.
Oh, is Gary here?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, what? Oh. Oh, Malikra. Ben Nabu. Oh, Charlie, hold on. Charlie, Baba. Your principality, did you all see him? You just came. You know what? Even if it is 5 seconds ago, this is the Gary L. Smith. Gary. Oh. Gary is the one who held Oreku's hand, and I went to Gary and said, Gary, this is my son. Please look after him well for me. And I want to publicly say you've done a brilliant job, and I'm proud of you, sir. managing a wonderful brand and doing big things with Sport FM. Gary, tell me, we've been having a conversation about repositioning, and I'm sure it's very real in your life. But just as we wrap up, one point you'd like to leave this audience with about the importance of repositioning in a changing world, especially in your field, sports and journalism.
Right, because it's late, I'll not want to waste too much time. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. For me, the only reason I think repositioning is important is that people forget you very quickly. So you always have to give them a reason to remember you. It's as simple as that. Done.
I shall remember you. All right, Gary L. Smith, incredible man, and a great person in the life of Oreku. Ray, closing thoughts.
Yes, and so I would just wrap up with the most recent practical example of repositioning in my life. About just a year ago, Yao Fosu seated 3 chairs on the left front row. We had a conversation that we laughed about, and we were talking about the influencer marketing. And we talked about the fact that it looks as if every big deal or every brand wants to associate themselves with Instagram and TikTok. Now, here was the case. For my 4 or 5 years, I had been building my Twitter for, religiously. That's all that I do, Twitter, Facebook. But after we had the conversation, I was like, you know what, maybe let me give my Instagram and TikTok a try. And so I got very active, extremely active, even if it was at the expense of my Twitter and Facebook. And interestingly, I think about 90% of the deals that I've had in the past year, they all came from Instagram and TikTok. And bear in mind, my Instagram and TikTok combined is nowhere near my Twitter and Facebook. But no brand has ever come to me that do something for your Twitter. It's always, can you do something on Instagram or TikTok for us? So the key here is that because we had that conversation and I have that insight, I'm able to deliberately build that path. And now when the opportunities came, I was ready. So once again, that's the most important thing about repositioning. I would have missed or would have never known of these opportunities if I was stubborn and stuck to Twitter and Facebook. The world doesn't mind stubborn people. You have to listen sometimes to where the wave is going. I kept telling myself, I'm not an Instagram person, I'm not a TikTok person. But where the world is going for the content creation and influencer marketing, it was all on TikTok and Instagram. So I moved there, and today I'm getting reward. It might be different with your field or wherever you find yourself, but I think the concept, the model applies. And just to wrap up, I would like all of us to go through the model again. I want it to become a part of you. As I said, I don't want it to become something rigid. I want it to become a cycle, something that you are used to. So we can go through again. I think it's behind. Number 1, we scan our lives. So let's say it together. So number 1,
assess your strengths.
Yes, so assess your strength. And then number 2, we scan the future. Number 3, I'm not hearing us all.
Take a position.
We take a position. And then number 4,
you back it with intentional actions.
And then number 5,
get noticed.
And then number 6, the most important for me, because there are people that get to the final step, and on that big meeting day, you are late, and you cancel it, and you miss the whole hard work you put in. And so leverage. When you get to that final step, give it your all, show your best foot, and trust me, you will succeed in your own personal way. Thank you.
Oreku Ampofo sharing his thoughts. Yao, when he finishes, we'll send him an invoice for the discussion. Tiflos Yati, we've seen people hit the ground in journalism, but they don't get to stay relevant for 30 years and beyond. What will be your closing thoughts for this audience?
Follow your passion. People have said passion doesn't pay. But these days, everything pays. So when you follow your passion, you develop your skill in that area. And never ever be satisfied with the applause. Always there's room at the top. So follow your passion. Find, some skills to read, and always there's space, there's room at the top, no matter what. Don't let the applause, Paul says something, he said, this one thing I do, forgetting the past. Always, just keep pushing, Even when everybody is applauding, just keep pushing. Because, there's always space out there, up there. Thank you very much.
Round of applause for Theophilus Yati as well. Thank you very much, Theophilus and Ereku. A round of applause for them. As you applaud, they both reinvent themselves. Thank you very much. You can come down to your seats now. Let me flip the program and quickly do the wow moment, and then we'll just wrap up with the offering and prayer. I want to say a big thank you to all the friends of Theophilus and Oreku who joined us today. All the squad. Morale for you, morale. Moses Yao and the whole squad. Akosia, all the squad, the whole squad here. God bless you all for the support. Special thanks to Michael, Niama, and Gary, seniors of Oreku, for coming to give him morale, and also friends of Theophilus for coming to give morale on a day like this. Let me put a smile on somebody's face by giving you a gift for coming today. Have you learned something? I won't ask you, but have you learned something? See, many of them. All right. I almost said that much today. Felix Anochi Kwejo. Where is Felix? Don't tell me he's gone home. Where's Felix? All right. Theophilus, do us the honors. Present this to Felix Anochi Kwejo. A couple of books and a gift for you for coming to PCH. It's always a learning festival. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll take an offering and then we'll bring the program to a close. I want to say a big thank you to you all for coming. The band will minister as we receive our offering.
Thank you, the New Wine Band. Kindly give me attention for the following reminders. Encounter. Let's meet at Encounter service on Saturday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Invite family, friends, and loved ones to join us as we worship and fellowship together. Ministering is Pastor Albert Okran. Easter service. Join us this Sunday for our communion, confession, and celebration service. First service is at 7:30 a.m. and second service is at 10 a.m. Premarital counseling class. Our premarital counseling class for this year continues tomorrow. Date is Thursday, 24th April 2025. The time is 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. All church members who intend to get married this year should register their names at the information desk after service. Thank you for your attention. It's time for the benediction. Let's welcome Pastor Albert Okran.
Thank you very much, Mami Sewa. Let me announce that season 1 of PCH comes to a close next Wednesday. Last days are dangerous. That means that don't be surprised that this can contain an Accra London Accra ticket. If you don't come, then it's up to you. I'm not saying it will contain, I say it can. So don't say, Pastor Pa. If you come and it's Accra Kumasi, you take it like that. But next week, the wow meant to be very special. But what will be even more special is by the fireside next week. Last year, by the fireside was with Uncle James Ebo White. There were no chairs. We sat on the floor. There were candles all around. And we had an amazing conversation. Guess what? Next week, our guest, same person, Uncle James Ebo White. And he promises that next week will be another level. We'll be talking about healthy relationships. Big subject, big night, and we'll make it a very colorful, a very eventful night. So next week, join us for the closeout of season 1 of PCH Hangouts. We'll come back after next week in September. So whatever happens, make sure you don't miss next week's PCH Hangout with Uncle James Ebo White. Let's bow down our heads for the benediction. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up the light of his countenance upon you and give you peace. May tonight mark a turning point in your reflections and in your positioning in your life, in your relationships, in your work, and in everything that you do. May what has been shared today be a seed that will grow to become a mighty tree in your life. May your tomorrow be better than your today. Go from this place with assurance of God's blessings, God's peace, and the joy of the Lord as your strength. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you and good night.
Welcome to the month of April at ICGC, the New Wine Temple, East Legon. This month, we celebrate the death and resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ with a series. Our PCH Hangout continue with the theme, Understanding the 7 Mountains of Influence. Join us every Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. as we engage top professionals and experts in various fields. This month, we welcome Theophilus Yate, Oreku Ampofo, and Uncle Ebo White. Don't miss out on these insightful discussions. Our various services are carefully designed to minister to your every need. Our encounter service takes place every Saturday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Our Sunday services are at 7:30 a.m. and 10 a.m. If you are interested in being baptized by immersion, join us on Saturday, April 26th at 6 a.m. at the church premises. On Sunday, 27th April, we come together for our communion, confession, and celebration service. It's a time of reflection and spiritual renewal. This April, at the New Wine Temple, we are one big family in Christ.